Hello ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It's your boy Izlogic.business, welcome you to this Anarchy Analysis matchup. We're covering Group A of Worlds today, and the matchup is going to be G2 versus Suning Esports. Now this matchup kicks off both teams' campaign in this Worlds tournament, both of which are looking to make it out of this group. Now, as a whole, this group is one of the easier groups where realistically you can predict the winner of this group quite easily, and people are going towards G2 Esports for this game. Obviously the first seed out of the LEC being a very dominant team, beating Fnatic 3-0 in their playoff finals and absolutely decimating the competition throughout most of the summer. Obviously, they did have a bit of issues in terms of playing. Obviously, they weren't first seed going into playoffs. They were, in fact, third. And as a whole, that is a big shocker to most people because they believed that this squad would come into playoffs at the top of the table and doing extremely well. As for Suning on the other side, they had a very good season. They were also third placed in the regular season, and they qualified for Worlds through the regional playoffs as the winner of that tournament. Obviously, they won through the first qualification match as they finished third during playoffs, and as a whole, his squad played very well. Now for this game, it's going to be very interesting, and I'm going to put a lot of emphasis towards either the mid lane or the top lane for this game. Wunder and Bin, the two top laners in this matchup, have played phenomenally for these two squads. Wunder stepped up during playoffs for this G2 lineup and provided a second carry option for the team while Perks struggled to do much this season, as well as Yankos being another player on this G2 squad to kind of suffer through this year. Now, obviously, these two teams are going to have a very big sort of collision, I would say here. Is obviously LPL versus LEC, the two highest kill regions in Worlds this year, and I'd expect a quite high tempo being set by either team. Now, you'd have to say this matchup is slightly G2 favoured, though since 2018, G2 have never beaten a Chinese squad, and that includes MSI, it includes Worlds, and it includes any other international events that they've been to. And that is huge because in 2018, that was the year this roster was built together when Caps joined this squad. And 2017, G2 obviously did beat a Chinese team. That was when they had Perks playing mid, and I believe we did in the bot lane for the G2 lineup. Now, coming into this game, I'd expect some bans towards some big picks like Diorn, Ori Graves, all big picks that obviously were classed as the holy trinity of Worlds play-ins. So I'd expect them to be removed. I'd expect the Caitlyn to be also taken off the board. Kalista as well, one of Perks' signature bot laners, to not be allowed through. And as we load up into the draft, Caitlyn is first removed from this game. Big surprise there, as the pick's realistically a very hard sieging champion. Nidalee also being removed. I think that's faced pick or ban 100% of the time in this Worlds tournament so far. It is so damn good, so realistically it needs to be picked up or banned out. And it's also a combo champion, so you've technically now removed the option of a certain champion, i.e. the Renekton, from being picked up. Though Renekton still is a very solid top laner that can be blind picked into picks like the GP if it comes through. Rest of the bans coming through, G2 continuing to ban out the jungle picks, and there's the Ornn, Lucian and Set ban from Suning Gaming. Obviously, Shen has a lot of power. Obviously, when TSM showed the prowess of this pick being super duper strong in the jungle as well as in the top lane, it provided a flex to these teams, and G2 in their first game in the playoff finals whipped out the jungle Shen, so it is an option that Jankos could go towards, so Sunning removed that. As we load into our first round of picks, TF, first pick up for G2, obviously Camped is a very strong roaming mid laner who likes to free up his lane to get out and support his other laners to get them ahead, and in previous eras / games, he usually uses his TF to go put pressure topside to get Wunder able to carry the game and actually perform very well. So you'd expect Wunder to go onto a carry for this game. The Camille is obviously open, maybe even a Jax. Obviously them sort of carries are open for G2, but on the side of Sunning, they've locked in the Renekton, obviously a very strong blind pick top, and the Syndra, a very strong control mage for mid lane. And we're going to be seeing Angel pilot that pick. However, it could be actually flexed down to the bot lane for Huang Feng, but in my opinion, I highly would doubt Syndra getting flexed down there, considering they've kind of counterpicked that TF matchup. Though we could see a Galio come through to kind of match the potential roam game that G2 has. Though with the volley and the Graves lock-in, it's actually going to be volley top lane, which is a surprise to me, though it has risen more in priority during the Worlds group stage than what it was in play-ins. The pick didn't realistically come out too much, though it is a very strong duelist in the early game, and going into a Renekton, I'd say this is going to be a very interesting matchup, as they both got a lot of dueling potential early, though the Renekton has a lot more sustain. Even if the Volibear gets a shield, it still has to deal with the healing that Renekton gets when he just slices people up. And second ban phase now is happening. You'd expect bans towards the support pool and also the ADCs of G2 and Sunning, so both teams have picked the same roles so far, and realistically you'd expect Nautilus, Leona, the Twitch and Kalista have actually been moved out here by Sunning. They're basically targeting out perks in this phase, putting them onto something that's not strong, though there is the Jhin, there's the Senna and Ashe all available, unless G2 decide to remove one of them. There's still a lot of options, and that's the Tahm Kench ban. That makes a lot of sense to me actually, because G2 obviously want to be roaming around the map using the gold cards out of the TF. Obviously if you pick up the Tahm Kench, he can kind of match the roam with the Abyssal Voyage, and also then just devour up the target that gets hit by the gold card. So he would be a very strong support to keep his team alive, but G2 removing that option. And we see Ashe versus Ezreal in the spot lane, and that is Mickey X's Bard. Big pick for Mickey. I love this pick as a whole. It's a roam heavy support, so you'd be expecting perks to be playing very safe with that Ezreal, which is a good option for the bot lane because Ezreal can just fire in Mystic shots, clear the wave without having to get anywhere near it, and get all the CS that he needs. And most likely he's going to be zoned away anyway by the Ashe and the Nautilus, who can just go for a combination with the volley into maybe an Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and then the Dredgeline Death Charge combination from the Nautilus. So as a whole, I'd say both teams look fairly strong. You can kind of tell how they both want to play. Obviously Sunning want to look for picks with the Ashe Arrow and the Lee Sin kick, and they have a lot of CC to kind of chain that together to lock up a target permanently. As for G2, they want to roam around the map, set up for plays, control objectives, obviously using the TF ultimate to check where everyone is, using the roam potential out of the Bard as well, and play the objective game very well. As we see the coaches coming out to the middle of the stage to give a nice little fist bump to each other. we are almost ready for this game, and I've got a lot of hype around this because we're going to be seeing quite a bit of team fighting, because both squads, while have drafted for the picks, while drafting for the objectives, you'd expect a lot of team fighting to come out from either squad, and as a whole, it is going to be very, very hype. And I'm honestly going to be interested to see how these two teams adapt to the playstyle that the other ones go towards. And as a whole, I've got a lot of expectations on this G2 squad. This squad, current MSI champions, Worlds finalists in 2019, going up against the third seed from China. If they're unable to beat this squad, they realistically do not stand a chance if they make it to the World's final against another Chinese squad. Because this squad as a whole it wasn't the strongest of squads in the LPL, though they are a squad to fear. And realistically, if you're G2 with your Dragon jerseys, you're going to be planning out right now how you plan to attack the early game, because Lee Sin is going to be looking to make plays for this Sunning side early, and G2 need to be able to react to it. Obviously, when the Lee Sin gets his Dragon kick, he's going to be probably going towards this bot lane and trying to pick off this G2 bot lane. Or even though it is an Ezreal who can play fairly safe with the arcane shift and having a flash as well, you'd still expect Sunning to try and pressurize Perks here to get their own bot lane ahead and then play the match. As we load up into Summoner's Rift here, already we see G2 posturing up to create the line of skirmish for this level 1. As we do my keystone check-in like normal, we're going to take a look across the map. Guardian Bard, obviously looking to play the more tanky Bard route to protect his carry when he's not around. Everything else looks fairly normal. Unsealed Bellbuck TF, obviously the double TP in the kit as well, so that is a big pick. Interestingly enough, it's going to be Smite Flash Graves, which is something that's quite interesting to note. And it's also Phase Rush. And the reason I say this is interesting to note is because in Worlds so far, every time we've seen a Graves in group stage, it's been Smite Ignite. And that is a big thing to note, because obviously the Graves has the quick draw, which allows him to slide around the map. And realistically, he can also use the collateral damage as a sort of movement ability. You'd expect this Graves to go with Ignite, get the bonus movement speed out with the Nimbus Cloak and the Phase Rush to essentially chase down targets a bit more easily and or take a lot of damage. Now, we've Panther's bot lane already seeing a lot of heavy trading between the two laners, and I would say G2 came out on top on that trade, though the heal pots come through for the Ashe and the Bard to top themselves back up. And mid lane, obviously Syndra will have early priority on this lane. The orbs will come out, and obviously that'll do a lot of work, and that makes this TF have to back away to its turret, as he won't match the wave clear that the Syndra has. Now, Death Charge, the dredge line there, manages to hit the ward and not onto a G2 member, so Nort has to back himself away to the brush play safe, and G2 managed to keep their bot lane alive. Now, both junglers have taken their respective buffs, both having the blue and the red buff respectively. Actually, Lee Sin slightly behind this tempo. He's cleared all his bot side jungle and is only just now taken red. He's just finished it. He's pathing downwards towards this Scuttle Crab, and he's actually going to meet the Graves in this river. Now, obviously in the top lane matchup, Wunder has the slight advantage, but because Angel has the push in the mid-wave and can roam first to this scuttle. Jankos has to give this up, and the way that Sofem is actually pathing, he's going to get a double scuttle here if he decides to take it. And interestingly enough, he's backing here, which is actually a big thing to note, because Jankos obviously will have seen Sofem actually go through the mid lane because he jumped across the minion wave. So G2 know that Sofem went down to his bottom scuttle, and obviously the Graves won't be able to contest this Lee Sin because both the mid lane and the bot lane are pushing in. So realistically, Sofem plays this very smart as he gets the free back, gets the reset, and now he can take this second scuttle to essentially get himself a CS advantage over Jankos without Jankos actually being able to track the positioning of the Lee Sin. Now, as we take a quick check-in after the top laners had their, well, Wunder's had his first buy. He actually hasn't used his teleport, which tells you a lot, and is actually winning out on this trade, though obviously the Renekton has that Fury stacked up and is going to get a big heal back, and also has pushed in this top wave. He's going back to base right now. Wunder can just stop it by walking around this corner. There you go. Forcing the Renekton to back away even more to get a nice reset. As Jankos has showed up in the spot lane. He's showing in the minion wave. And he's just looking to force this wave up into the top lane, into the bot lane turret to allow the Ezreal and this Bard to get a reset in order to get back with more items. Plus, it means that Ezreal won't have to actually expend his TP because he's crashed out waving quite quickly. As we go towards the jungle now, TF is actually going to spot out Lee Sin, going to land the gold card, landing a big trade, and Sofem does not care. He's actually though been cornered here. Mickey X has come around, he's forced to flash out Lee Sin, he's just going to safeguard his way back to the Syndra. But good roam out of this Bard. No one really expected that, I do believe, from Sunning. The Bard getting out of lane a lot quicker than what Sword Art's Nautilus can do. And essentially, it means that he's able to get a play as Jankos is overstepping here. As Angel's already collapsed in, Scatterweed's going to land and the Unleashed Power picks up first blood here for Sunning Gaming. And that's also an assist over to Lee Sin. Jankos just getting caught out here, which is going to cost him. And Bard, Mickey X, almost gets hit by that dredge line. He's going to have to magical journey himself away to get to his bot lane. As we pan to the mid lane, TF putting in a bit of damage to Angel. Obviously, big thing to note here is the mana bar. Both mid laners are burning mana, but obviously TF has that blue card to essentially make that mana bar irrelevant for him. And we'd probably be expecting Angel to go back soon. Obviously, we can see him recalling now to top up his mana. And we're going to see how much he buys here. As obviously, he just picked up that first blood gold. What is he going to buy? I'd expect maybe a lost chapter here to actually make it a bit more of an easier trade for him. And there you go. Picked up. Also some boots and a control ward. So he's going to be dealing a lot better with the mana issues that Syndra has. As realistically, she needs to be casting a lot of orbs in order to make herself able to clear the waves quite quickly. And she's able to do that a lot more easily if she gets a blue buff. But we already see an engagement in the bot lane as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes out and lands onto Perks. And the Ignite also burnt there for the Arcane Shift of Ezreal. So G2 don't lose out on much, though Sunning burned quite a bit in order to get that, as Lee Sin is not going to be able to steal away the red buff here. Jankos picks that up. Though it does mean that with Sunning spotting where the Graves is, it means that they can go immediately to this red buff, Infernal Drake, and start this one up. But though, and Jankos' Graves pathing up here, the binding from Bard's going to land, forcing the flash out from Nautilus. He's going to spot up trouble as the empowered W from the Ezreal will land. But that's just a lot of summoners burnt there by the side of Sunning, as all of the bot lane forced to use all them sums. And that, I would say, is slightly more worth to G2 because they can look to get a double kill in the foreseeable future on this bot lane. And that also frees up a bit more pressure for G2 in this bot side matchup, as Ezreal can freely push up here. As we look towards this mid lane, Destiny being used by Caps gets cancelled by the Scattered Weak from the Syndra. So good play out of Angel here in this game. He's been the standout performer so far for this Sunning squad, and realistically, if you're G2, you're going to have to look to shut him down to stop him from getting these big plays to cancel out how G2 want to play. Now, top side, we haven't looked towards too much, but Wunder has picked up a 20 CS advantage over this Renekton, been farming extremely well, and is pushing him under this turret. Obviously, he's going to take a big trade here, a bit of a curse from me, and yeah, that is huge. Obviously, he's up on the Kindle Gem and has the Bramble Vest as well, which is a big buy for this Volibear, as it allows him to kind of deal with pretty much all of the Sunning squad, though he will struggle up against the Syndra. He's still going to do very well against the Renekton, the Lee Sin. Obviously, the jungle top combo is what you tend to see, as we are seeing a TP coming in from G2. It is going to be the Ezreal. Temper Fate goes wide. Herald still in this play, forcing this Nautilus back. That is Lee Sin jumping over. He's kicking away this Graves. Going to pick up the trade kill, but that is a double kill for Perks here. And that's just going to make this bot lane a bit more easier for G2, as the pressure that can be placed onto them comes less and less, and a lot more pressure as Angel's been caught out here. The Syndra may look to get a kill onto Ezreal. The Unleashed power was not enough. There was not enough burst there, and G2 pick up 3 kills in a matter of minutes, and that gets them back in the races here. Gonna take a 200 gold lead over Sunning here. And with the Herald still up on the map, you'd expect Graves, once he's come back, to go straight towards it. As topside, we're seeing the Volibear trading quite heavily into the Renekton. Though Renekton's just going to slice up that volley, get his health back, and make that trade irrelevant for himself. As Wunder is able to keep applying this pressure. And both top laners' TPs close to coming back off cooldown. In fact, the Renekton's is about to in about 10 seconds maybe. Actually, it's come up right now. So both squads probably looking to contest this Mountain Drake spawn here. Obviously, the TP disadvantage is not a thing in this game, as both mids have their TPs on cooldown. And what do you know, the Ezreal's starting up this Rift Herald by himself. G2 roaming up here. And the way Sunning are playing, I don't think they can test, as Bard's looking to put a bit of pressure down to the Renekton. And interestingly enough, Mickey X has been across the map all game, as Nautilus is roaming up this mid lane. Could look to get a nice dredge line. He is, however, level 7, so he could go for a dev charge. G2 backing away. Dredge line's going to clip the wall there. Narrowly avoided there by Mickey X as well. So G2 get away with the Herald. It's in the back pockets though of the Bard, which is an interesting play. I don't know if that was intentional, like they wanted on him, or he was forced to pick it up before Nautilus could actually get a hook onto anyone on G2. That being said, still G2 looking to play the objective game as stated beforehand, getting that picked up. And with this Mountain Drake spawning in 13 seconds, Sophem and Angel looking to push in midwave to apply some pressure onto the map, as Caps is sat in the bot lane. Which, obviously, if that's happening, you'd expect Perks and Mickey to roam to the mid lane. And what do you know, they are. That being said, because of G2's awkward positioning right now, though Destiny is being used, Caps is going to spot out this Nautilus coming down towards him. Forced to ghost away. Obviously, it is unsealed spellbook, so he'll get his TP back. And that is actually a big sum for this TF. Obviously, using the ghost, which is a summoner that got buffed recently, like maybe 3 or 4 patches ago, increasing the movement speed you get with it, which is a huge thing. So, Caps keeping himself alive, and G2 looking to extend their lead as we're seeing a trade of turrets to top lane turret. Wonder and Yankos are gonna pick that up first, just as the turret plates fall. And Mickey dropped the Rift Herald top, I do believe, as well. So G2 cashing out very nicely. And obviously, the Ashe can probably go one-hit that turret in the bot lane and pick up the gold there. That is almost certainly going to fall in a matter of minutes. Now, time to take a quick check-in on the buys, as all of G2 and all of Sunning have just reset onto the map. Graves has his jungle item and boots. He's fairly empty inventory, I would say. You usually have bits and bobs in your inventory like potions, control wards. All he has is the jungle item and boots. Maybe he hasn't had chance to back after getting the Herald's top lane turret, but when he's able to, you'll expect him to actually do much. Now Sunning, starting to control this top lane river, probably looking to contest the second Rift Herald spawn, which will be in a few minutes. And what do you know? We can look at the items. We're seeing the Frozen Gauntlet, or the Iceborne Gauntlet, pick up here for the volley, which is very interesting, as you're going into 3 melee champions. Obviously, the Ezreal, by the way he's building, is also going Iceborne Gauntlet, so it's actually quite an interesting buy. As a re-engage coming in, an engager coming in from Soft M, getting himself chunked out very low. Is though going to try and contest the Raptor, and he's forced to dragon kick away to Yankos, getting absolutely nothing other than a bit of pressure onto G2 to allow his mid laner to pick up the mid lane turret. Though G2 looking to apply pressure on the other side of the map as Caps pushing in this top lane, gonna get the minion wave into this tier 2 turret, and Temper Fate's going to be used, Destiny also used, forcing Flash out of Wang Feng, and that is the binding landing onto Nautilus. Nothing more coming. Both teams get away with their lives, though G2 using Destiny very nicely there to get the Flash out of the Ashe, and the Ezreal ult there chipping away at the Nautilus health bar does mean that he's forced to back, and G2 aren't going to get this mid lane turret, though they do get the Flash out of the Ashe, which is going to be huge in the upcoming team fight, because G2 more than likely will contest this Ocean Drake, as that would put Sunning on Ocean Soul point, and Ocean Soul is a Drake you do not want people to get the soul of. It is the most broken thing. Is the longer you fight, the more healing you get. The more healing you get, the more topped up you go, and it makes this a very powerful pick, as Renekton may have just been baited in. He's going to be flashed on by the gold card from TF, and this is engage, and TP also being burnt here by the Ezreal, and G2 burn a couple of summoners and get absolutely nothing, whereas the TP coming in from Angel in this mid lane to force G2 away from this Drake pit, and in fact they're being forced out of their own jungle. The Sonic Wave though is going to land onto Perks, and G2 back away even more. Angel lurking in this jungle, looking to get a big play, Scar of the Week into an unleashed power probably, and he's positioning his balls, orbs, whatever you want to call it, in a good position. That being said, he has been tagged here by the Tempered Fate, though G2 being forced back as the Dragon Kick from Lee Sin will keep them away from jumping on top of his mid laner. G2 with that play gonna force Sunning away from the pit and the actual river, And G2 happily are going to take this 10 seconds until Ocean Drake spawns. They're putting a lot of poke down onto Lee Sin, forced to safeguard away to his Nautilus there. Though we're coming into the pit now, Renekton Bin is just hiding behind G2. He's unspotted here as well. As the engage coming in onto Ezreal, he's caught out by Depth Charge and the Dredgeline. He's shut down by Nautilus. The Scout of the Week is going to land on Volibear. He's forced to ult, but he gets taken out. Graves also picks up the Nautilus kill there, and G2 get 3 for 2'd. Actually, it's a 2 for 1, sorry. And Sunning controlled the pit. Graves has managed to get into the backside. Will be able to steal it. TF is the one that gets it. And that is a trade of Jankos' life for the Ocean Drake. That is huge if you're G2. As that is more worthwhile than a death onto your jungler. As that means that you're stopping the Drake stack coming in from Sunning here. And realistically, we watch this play again. Sonic Wave lands onto Ezreal. And now it's the engage coming in from this Nautilus. Dredgeline lands, Depth Charge lands, Scout of the Week lands, Exhaust lands, and Nautilus is able to pick up the kill onto Ezreal. Jankos is able to pick up Sword Art though, and because Wonder was essentially the sacrificial lamb here for G2, it means that Jankos is able to get away into the pit, get behind Sunning, which they had no control of it. Boom, the smite comes down, but the TF's wildcards pick it up, and G2 steal away the Ocean Drake. Now, with this game reaching 20 minutes, Baron is available. As we look at the goal graph, very up and down for these two teams, as it's been quite even. This is the first big break of a 1k goal lead. Bard not going to be hit by the Dredgeline. Destiny coming in, Thrum caps. Temper Fate is going to land on Syndra, but that is the Gargoyle Stonepipe burnt by the Nautilus, who's trying to get away. Bard's coming around the side, and he's placed a ward onto the Blast Cone. That means the Angel is going to be shut down. And TF picks up the kill, and G2 turns straight to the Baron as the mid laner of Sunning falls. And that is huge, as we're probably going to be able to see that again, though we are possibly going to see a continuation of the fight. Renekton is behind the pit, though Ezreal is forcing away to Lee Sin. He's forced Flash over the wall. Dredgeline is going to land. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to land. Depth Charge lands, and Lee Sin picks the kill onto Ezreal, who's overstepping now with TSM. G2 without their carrier, forced away from the Baron pit, flashing away. Jankos is going to keep himself alive, and possibly here Sunning could turn to the Baron themselves, as G2 forced very low and forced back from the pit. And we're more than likely going to get a replay. Here we go. So it starts off, Bard looking to clear the vision. He steps up, Dredgeline misses. Because of the Dredgeline missing, Destiny comes in, gold card, forced onto this, actually it was red card onto this Nautilus. He's able to get away with the Dredgeline, though Mickey X's Magical Journey, placing the control ward onto the Blast Cone, and oh, Angel auto-attacked the control ward, meant that he's unable to use the Blast Cone to possibly save his life, though it's highly unlikely he does, and G2 managed to pick him off in that fight, though they do trade mid laner for bot laner, and as a whole, bot laners are more impactful on taking Barons, as they pump out the most damage in very little time in comparison to a TF. Ezreal versus TF, Ezreal will do more damage. So with that big carry down for TS, I've done it again, I'm calling him TSM, I don't know why. Big carry for G2, it means that G2 are unable to kill the Baron very quickly. So as we do our quick check-in on the buys and the inventories of everyone in the game, Volibear still got that Iceborne, probably looking to go with all of them items into a Trinity Force or Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver would make sense, actually. He also is chilling with the Bramble Vest, and there you go, it's Black Cleaver pickup. Renekton has his Black Cleaver already, is also sitting on a Kindle Gem and a Tiamat, probably going to build that up into a Titanic Hydra. Lee Sin has a Knight's Vow, which is actually important because this is the tanky Lee Sin build that we've seen from Sophem before. It's sort of his speciality of Lee Sins, and realistically it's the smartest of options. Probably going to go towards maybe a Spirit Visage as TP coming in from Caps in mid lane. Obviously he has got that Summoner Spellbook, so he wants to use that to get himself towards this Ocean Drake to contest it. And yeah, the rest of the team's Graves has his Black Cleaver and jungle item. That means he's looking to shred through the armor that this Lee Sin has. Mid lane, Caps is building up his Death Cap. He's already sitting on one stick. And Syndra probably going for her own as Engage coming in here. Fried by Nautilus does hit the wall though, and Card's going to lock him up. This is G2 bursting down this Nautilus. Temp Fate's going to land on 2 carries of Sunning, and Volibear's going to pick up the first kill of this fight. And this is the Engage onto this Renekton. He's almost chunked out. He's almost certainly going to fall, but the re-engage coming in from Sunning here. The Engage coming in, Lee Sin going to pick up 1. The Syndra picks up the second. That Scarroweet's going to land onto Caps, and he is killed off, though it's a trade as Indra is killed off here by TF, and that's a double kill though for the Ashe, and that is going to be sole point over to Sunning as they almost ace G2 as Volibear runs away with his life. He does have TP though, and possibly could look to re-engage onto Sunning, but he hasn't gone back to base yet. He is doing so now after taking Krugs, I do believe, and G2 lose a massive team fight there, and they're gonna lose the Soul Point Drake to Sunning, and it's gonna be interesting to watch that fight again because Mickey X landed a perfect Tempered Fate. As we watch this again, we're in the perspective of Lee Sin. He's gonna be narrowly avoiding that Tempered Fate, and the carries of the Ashe and Syndra get hit by it. Enchanted Crystal Arrow gets immediately used onto Mickey, and because Mickey gets also hit by the Sonic Wave, it provides a path for the Graves, for the Lee Sin to get onto the Graves and execute him with that Dragon Kick, and then it's just chase down of kill after kill by Sunning as they get a big teamfight win there. Now we return back to life as Lee Sin's been caught out here. The gold card's gonna land. Wild card narrowly misses, and Sophem's forced back to base after a big engage from G2. And Sunning would have probably looked to have team fighted after that pick if it did come through for G2, because more than likely that would have been Baron for this European lineup, as it would have been jungler dead for Sunning. It means that G2 would have gone to contest it. Now, rest of the lineups on the board, we can take a look at the item stock. It's going to be Iceborne Gauntlet and Mermana, same difference for Ezreal. Obviously, he's fully stacked that up as possibly could see another fight here in this mid lane. Mickey posturing very aggressively, protecting his carries by standing in front of them. Anyway, Ezreal probably going towards his death stance here. Got the Null Magic Mantle sat in the back with the Warhammer. As for the Ashe, already got her Bork and the Hurricane. Possibly going towards her IE right now to get a bit more damage and crit chance. Obviously, Ashe with crit chance is kind of the sort of thing you go towards. It's very powerful, and there you go, it's been picked up. As for the supports, it's Mikhail's versus Gargoyle's Stone Plate in terms of first buy items for these two. And Mikhail's is big. Obviously, I stated in Champion Select the amount of CC chaining that this Sunning squad can do. Having a remote cleanse for your carries is going to be huge for Mickey if he's able to use that correctly during a fight. And as a whole, you look at this 2k gold lead for Sunning, there isn't too much difference in items. Obviously, Caps is almost at his death cap, whereas the Syndra's gone for the Ludens and Spellbinder build. And we look at the vision score, oh my! Obviously, the vision score gets inflated by Zombie Ward, and from what I remember, the Bard build that Mickey's gone, the Guardian route, does have Zombie Ward as the secondary, so you can tell why Mickey X's ward or vision score is so high is due to the Zombie Ward effect. Now, as we close in on this Soul Point Drake Force Sunning, which is in 1 minute and 10 seconds, Ezreal finally picked up that death stance, so G2 are going to have some very decent team fighting points, as possibly Sword getting caught out here by G2. They were sitting waiting to catch him, as TF, using his teleport to get to the mid lane, is going to be able to do so. And it's going to clear the wave. Obviously, mid-wave is a very big thing in terms of controlling Drakes, as you want to push that out to stop the other team possibly looking to force down into your base quite easily. It's the shortest route between turrets, so it's why people tend to go to pressure that instead of pressurizing, say, top or mid. But obviously, G2's top lane is pushing in for themselves, so they control that. Bot lane is Sunning favoured, so realistically, you'd expect G2 to try and put Austria towards the spot lane, maybe clear that out before they'd start and fight. But Sunning, again caught out here, Dreadline over the wall, lands onto Graves, and he's the target, perfect target for Sunning to engage, and that's the first kill of the fight, over to the Renekton, he's going to slice and dice through this G2 lineup. Ice volleys coming in from the Ashe, who's chunking out this G2 lineup, forced away, Bard's going to flash over into this Ashe, forcing her to flash out, and G2 managed to burn a lot of summoners out of this Sunning lineup, though they do lose their jungler, and that is the big issue if you're G2, as they're looking to re-engage onto this Nautilus. They managed to cut him out. Dreadline will land onto this TF and the Bard, though this is traded kills as G2 managed to pick up 2, though they do lose the Bard. This is a 2 for 2 so far. That's a 3 for 2 now for G2. Syndra's returning to this fight. She's going to land her orbs. Scatter Week will not be even needed to burst out this Ezreal, as the Unleashed power does its job, and G2 actually lose this fight after taking a numbers advantage over Sunning, and with the low health bars from G2, they're forced away from this pit, and they're going to be maybe looking to contest this. Got wildcards used over the wall. Drake, though, is bursted out, and the volleybear's coming in. He's in a bad position, in my opinion. He could be killed off here, and he forces the disengage from Sunning, and G2 lose Ocean Soul, which is a big loss for them. As we watch the end of this fight again, Mickey gets tagged by Dreadline, means that Caps can just burst out this knot, though Renekton returns to the fight, manages to trade his life for the Bards, and then it's Ashe getting shut down by Volley because he's ran down. Unleashed power into status by the Syndra, keeps herself alive to burst out the ADC of G2, and that means that the Drake goes over to this Sunning lineup. As we look at the damage dealt in that fight, you can kind of see the damage G2 can still do with this 2k gold deficit. Ezreal's already reached his 2 item power spike, which means that he's able to just pump out tons of damage in a fight. 5k just in one fight means that it's very hard for Sunning to win a fight if they're unable to burst out the Ezreal. And what we saw there, once Syndra killed off Ez, G2 had no business staying around the pit. And that's why they back away, as Sunning are just running it down mid. They've already killed the tier 2 turret here. Volibear's unable to clear the wave. He's going to stun up the Lee Sin, and TP being used here by the Ezreal is going to be caught out. Unleashed power is not available for this Syndra as she chunks out the Bard. Re-engage coming in from G2. They're using all their spells. The stun comes out. Renekton's on his own here in the backline of G2. He's looking to kill them off. That's going to be first kill of the fight over to Sunning as they kill off this Volibear. G2 may die here as the Ezreal manages to kill off Not and the Lee Sin as Lee re-engaged into that fight. Kind of silly. He did, though, kick away one of the carriers, possibly looking to execute them off and allow Sunning to possibly turn to this Baron, though G2 have got the numbers advantage here. They did kill the jungler on Sunning, and they're looking to run it straight to Baron and take this away before Sunning can respond by taking away G2's base. That being said, it's possibly a bait from G2. Bard and Yankos's Graves hiding away in the fog of vision, and Sunning may be pretty much baited. They're looking to pick off this Renekton, who's spotted by Destiny. Gold card's going to land. Scatter Week will not land though for Sunning, and G2 continue to control this top lane and river area. It means that Sunning are forced to play very respectful, and that is a big thing if you're G2, because you're down in gold here. And yes, the later into the game you go, the less gold difference matters, but that is a huge thing to say when you're quite far behind in terms of items. Syndra has got a completed Void Staff, which is actually quite interesting because there isn't too much magic resist on G2 side. Obviously, they've got all the boots. There's a random Spirit Visage on Volley, and there's a random Null Magic Mantle on Graves. Probably looking for his own death stance with the Warhammer in inventory as well. Interestingly to note, the Ezreal has got a QSS. He's also able to dodge out from the stuns that Sunning have, as Sunning also starting up this Baron. Scatterweek's going to land to Mickey. He's going to be tagged by a lot of damage as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow was also used. That's quite a big amount of team fighting power gone from the Sunning side. More than likely going to be forced away from the Baron pit. And what do you know? They disengage. G2 though looking to collapse here as Volley's going to pop the blast cone in front of them. He is putting himself in a dangerous position as the rest of G2 aren't near. We see TF hanging around in base looking for a TP into the fight. He is TPing in, and it's not that deep. He is going to be running straight into this fight, though he is tagged by the Ice Volley, slowing him back down. And G2 managed to stay alive, managed to clear a bit of vision placed by Sunning. And this is actually very amazing, because realistically, Ocean Soul should be uncontestable for Sunning, as it's such a powerful buff. G2 shouldn't have any authority or any reason to be out of their jungle unless they're contesting the Baron. But obviously, this Ocean Soul is not being used too effectively by Sunning, as they aren't sieging very hard, which they should do. Now we have seen the Renekton go down to this bot lane, putting a bit of pressure down there. The Lee Sin, possibly caught out, going to be tagged by one auto from the Bard. The slowing autos will not do enough. Though Renekton, coming in from the side, possibly looking to get onto this Bard here. Sonic Wave does land, but no engage. A lovely scatter of the week over the wall onto the Graves and the Volley. And Renekton possibly going to be spotted out here, as we're going to see a team fight, I do believe. That's True Shot Barrage used onto 2 by G2. Renekton's been spotted out. Going to be smoke screened away. And with Elder spawning in 20 seconds, G2 could look to trade objectives Baron for Elder, though Elder is slightly more game winning for Sunning. And what do you know, we're seeing possibly a big fight here. Elder's going to be maybe started up here. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow used onto Ezreal. He's forced back. Sonic Wave being used onto this TF. He's continuing to chase him down. Cleanse is being forced. Volleybear's forced all over the wall. And they're trying to burst out the Lee Sin before he can actually enter into this fight. And G2 staying quite healthy against the Ocean Drake team, who can just sustain up as Renekton's continuing with. He's exhausted up. G2 though are looking to fight from 2 different angles here, and they're bursting down this Sunning squad. We are seeing TF possibly looking to recall and go back to base to TPE back in with Destiny. Though Renekton, he is being forced back. Destiny is also used by Cabs. He's landed a gold card onto the Syndra. That's a shutdown for G2. They're possibly looking to kill off this Sunning squad and get this Elder Drake for themselves. They're continuing forward. Lee Sin's hit by the gold card. He's forced to flash away. Dredgeline being used by Nautilus. He's popping the Gargoyle Stone Plate to keep himself alive. Bard is continuing to chase down, and G2 force away Sunning from this Elder Drake pit. Obviously, they're carried down for this lineup the LPL lineup means that they have realistically less damage being popped out. Lee Sin being chunked out by these Mystic shots, constantly being thrown out. Obviously, the health regen from the Ocean Drake means that he's able to continue to fight though, and he's continuing to go in onto this lineup of G2. Re-engage coming in from this Volibear. He's jumping onto this action. That is the first kill of this fight for G2 as they shut him down. Second kill as Volibear picks up this Nautilus. Re-engage onto this Renekton as everyone's being chased away. He's forced to walk in, chipped over the wall. Lee Sin is going to be bursted out, and G2 have control of this Elder Drake. They're going to secure it for themselves, and what a big fight for this G2 lineup as they're able to secure Elder for themselves and possibly look to go towards this Baron and end this game as Sunning have just lost it all. G2 are fighting back. They finally secured themselves their first gold lead in forever. They've been behind for so long. As we watch this fight again, lovely use of the magical journey from Bard, forcing back this Sunning lineup. As we watch this again, Ashe gets tagged by spell after spell, constant Mystic shots forcing them away, and we watch again. Gold card gets used here by TF, means that this Lee Sin feels more confident to go in. Dredgeline does not hit onto a target, and the re-engage coming in from the Volibear jumping on top of this Ashe means that Ezreal can use that True Shot Barrage to execute her off. Lovely use of the Arcane Shift here by Ezreal means that he's able to go over the wall and get some damage down onto Nautilus as we see from the side. Lee Sin kicking away the Graves, but he's bursted out quite quickly as Destiny is being used once again as we return to live, and wow. Look at the damage dealt here by Perks in this game. Sorry, in that last team fight. 10k. That is huge. And G2 off the back of that Elder took the Baron, as we didn't actually see that on the actual camera. That is a big thing. They're going to look to siege open this base, obviously with the Elder Drake for the next minute. They're going to get a lot here as Sunning realistically cannot fight G2. What can Sunning do though to protect their base? As the first Nexus turret's going to fall, you have to expect a fight. Renekton is hovering around the mid lane for some reason, as Volibear's already joined up with G2's lineup. He's coming in from behind, possibly going for a flank. Gold card will land onto Lee Sin as the Mystic shot lands onto the Renekton, forcing him away. We should see a fight here. Orbs are being placed. Engage coming in from the Volibear. Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands onto the Graves. He's being killed off. Renekton being chunked out though by this Bard. And G2 possibly going in. The shutting down of the turrets gets used by Volibear, and he's bursted out immediately. Lovely scatter. Weak gun pick up the kill onto the Graves. And Engage coming in for the Lee Sin, jumping onto the backline of G2. He is forced back away though. Destiny being used by TF. He's looking to get himself out of this fight. He's coming in though from the side actually, as Lee Sin's going to hit the kicker onto him. And what do you know? Ezreal's going to be shut down by this Nautilus, and TF possibly going to pick up this Nexus turret. No, he won't. There's another shutdown, and that goes over to this Ashe. G2 get aced off the board, and Sunning look to keep themselves alive in this game. And with the death timers being quite long, 27 seconds left on this Bard, they're looking to run it straight down mid. Obviously, it's the quickest route to the base of G2, and they're going to possibly look to end this game here. Bard's up in 11 seconds now. He will be up in time to possibly look to stop this Nexus turret falling for G2. TP though coming in from the Syndra. She's looking to come end this game with her team. It's Graves and Volley and Bard versus the world. G2's lineup aren't going to be available, and the lovely Temper Fate's going to mean that these two Nexus turrets are going to stay alive a lot longer. Bard's pumping out damage. Ezreal and Graves coming in. The Volibear ults himself in. Does first Nexus turret falls for G2. The Ashe picks that up. Volibear is going to be the sacrificial lamb. Nexus turret 2's fallen, and G2 possibly going to turn this. TF gets the kill onto Syndra. G2 looking to chase. Gold card's going to land onto this Ashe. Forces the cleanse out, and G2 continuing to chase. Destiny's used. He's looking to chill. That's Ashe. That is 2 kills for nothing. Destiny's being used to chase down this Renekton. He is going to be forced away. Bard's continuing to chase. TF gonna lock up this Lee Sin as Ezreal looking to end this game. G2 take down their second Nexus turret. The Nexus is wide open, and G2 are gonna win this game beating Sunning in the most interesting of fashions. Oh my, that was a very interesting game to say the least. G2 bouncing back, losing Ocean Soul. They're like, nah fam, we don't care about Ocean Soul. We're gonna win this game without it. Take the Elder Drake, take the Baron, run it down mid, get aced, run it back down mid once again, acing, well, not even acing Sunning, killing off the carries of the Sunning lineup and win the game that way. And interesting enough, my man of match for this game, I'd have to say, goes to Mickey. If it wasn't for his tempered fates in team fights and for that last play, more than likely this LPL lineup would have picked up the win against G2. And I can't say much more than that. Fantastic performance. And you can see the relief on Camps' face after that last team fight. He's just like, what the hell just happened? And that is the game all said and done. G2 get their first win at Worlds, leading this Group A as expected. And that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're on to here if you want to. And I'll see you guys later. Peace out.